It's a continuation of Purdue's road trip out west, and for UCLA, it's a must-win game.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, everybody. This is a Locked On College Crossover. I'm Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer, Locked On UCLA. That's Nick Arvin of Locked On Boilermakers. We're discussing a huge game in college basketball this week. We'll talk about the preview, why it's a must-win for UCLA. For Purdue, can they handle the West Coast travel like some of the Big Ten teams have? And what's the impact and expectation for this one this week? Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So, Nick, we've had our chance to chat a little bit off the air, do our little Big Ten squad. It's not football season, so this is supposed to be our bread and butter. And instead, for Purdue, they're playing like it's their bread and butter. For UCLA, all the fans are lamenting, why can't it be football season again? Which is not what I thought when the season started in November, but that's where we are with the UCLA-Purdue matchup here in late January.
Yeah, we're doing good right now. We do drop a game earlier in the year against Iowa State, so all the talk about that perfect season that I feel like some Purdue fans, whether realistically or not, had thrown out there, that went away. But since then, the start of Big Ten play has been nice to us. We start out 7-0, recently wins over Iowa, then we traveled down to LA on the weekend to take on USC and get a near victory there, come back from down 14 points. So right now, undefeated in Big Ten play at the top of the charts in terms of the standing. So I really can't complain about where Purdue's at right now. I'm sure we'll get into some nitpicky stuff as we get through the course of this episode. But as of where we're at right now, I can't complain about how the Boilermakers have started out this year, Zach.
Meanwhile, all we've done is complain about Mick Cronin and UCLA here, the secret extension, and it looks like a terrible extension, kind of reminiscent of what UCLA gave Chip Kelly, and Chip Kelly left. Well, Mick Cronin's not going to leave anytime soon on his own accord, and I think all UCLA fans are kind of wishing, as of this point, that he does. UCLA has underperformed significantly. Where are they? 12-6. They have fallen to 4-3 in Big Ten play. It's just looking like they're a mediocre basketball team for a team that's returning a lot of production from an NCAA tournament team a year ago that we thought would get to a second weekend and with the right order could challenge for a deeper run. Instead, UCLA is not projected to be in the tournament. You look at all the bracketology predictions and projections, whether you use Fox Sports, whether you use ESPN and Joe Lunardi, any and every single one of them have UCLA on the outside looking in. That all changes, though, Nick, with a win at home versus Purdue, and Purdue just narrowly escaped losing at USC at the Galen Center the other night.
I mean, it's a game where for Purdue, you continue on that West Coast trip, and that's something that I've thrown out a lot even before this schedule got released, where, I don't know, this new era of Big Ten basketball, and we've even seen it with Oregon, Washington, UCLA, USC, those squads going to the Midwest. There has been some struggles there with those teams trying to travel in. I wanted to see if the inverse was true with Purdue traveling down to the West Coast to take on the two LA teams. And against USC, there were some definite concerns to start out this game. You get yourself into a 14-point hole, climb back out of that one. But a win is a win, all things considered. Now you got UCLA, and it's going to be a team, like you mentioned, that they are struggling right now. The standard has been a little bit under where it should have been going into this season. But for Purdue, you can't underestimate this Bruins team. This is a squad that hasn't shown a ton of energy as of late in terms of just putting the foot on the pedal for 40 minutes of basketball. And we've seen that in the rebounding numbers. We haven't been dominant on the glass the way that you would expect. You see that on the defensive side of the ball, where there's just been some miscommunication, not forcing guys, not giving guys tough looks from three. There's been a lot of different things that all kind of combined together that make me a little bit more concerned about this game at UCLA compared to where I would be if this game was at home at Mackey Arena. So certainly not saying Purdue is going to lose this one quite yet, but this is also one that I feel like for UCLA fans, you look at this game and say, oh, this is Purdue. They're undefeated in Big Ten play. This is an unbeatable team. for where we're at right now. And that's just not the reality of the situation. This Purdue team is very beatable if you shoot the three ball well. I don't want them to lose by any stretch of the imagination, but lately against Penn State, against Iowa, against USC, those teams have shown the blueprint for how to at least compete with this Boilermaker squad.
Yeah, this is a UCLA team that had number one Arizona on the ropes, was competing with Gonzaga, actually jumped out 7-0, 8-0, was leading Cal, who just destroyed North Carolina over the weekend, on a neutral side up north in Northern California, early and at halftime against the Golden Bears without one of their starters. Unfortunately, lack of roster cohesion throughout the season, injuries, and just kind of this dead offense Mick Cronin has employed throughout his UCLA tenure has led to struggles for the Bruins. Now, what I've billed this matchup as prior to this season, a battle of the two best Big Ten point guards, Braden Smith, and then you look at Donovan Dent. It has been anything but on Donovan Dent's side. I think that's part of the reason UCLA has been struggling. Definitely not every single reason. Donovan Dent has been playing both parts of the games, 33 minutes after missing a game or two with injury, but he's the third leading scorer. His rebounds are at 2 per game. His assist numbers are good. It seems like his turnover numbers are low. The problem for Dent is the shooting way down. Free throw shooting and the ability to get there way down. His three-point shooting prior to the Ohio State game, he was what? 2 for 22, Nick. Donovan Dent, who was a 40%er a year ago, not a volume shooter like Smith could be, was a 40%er. He's shooting 15% from 3. Just that comparison alone, you can see why Braden Smith was a 2-time preseason Big Ten Player of the Year award winner and probably going to be on his way to something similar with postseason accolades. UCLA, though, they've struggled to get any production from their post. Xavier Booker started the game, only played 2 minutes, so Purdue's going to worry about rebounding. That is not a problem with UCLA because Cronin has been harping on that all season long. Even saying, I recruited these guys, blame me. Kind of acknowledging these guys are not playing well right now. The one thing to look forward to, though, is Sky Clark healthy. UCLA's second leading scorer has missed the last few games. The Bruins have seen success and disaster when they've played good teams, not so well. When they've played bad teams, winless Big Ten teams, Maryland and Penn State at the time, you've got wins for UCLA. You talk about the travel, the Bruins had to go to the Midwest, back west for a game, to the East, and now back west. So even though this is a road game for Purdue, travel benefits Purdue. What do you think about that?
Yeah, this is one going into it where I've mentioned the West Coast trip, how I thought it would be tough, but for you guys having to go travel to Ohio State, you guys unfortunately lose that game and then coming back. It's a bit of an interesting twist on what I thought this game would be. So I'm a little bit more confident from that perspective for Purdue, but I want to hit on your point, and it was a good point you threw out about Donovan Dent and Braden Smith, that matchup being seen as that kind of marquee guard matchup out of the backcourt going into this season, and I thought Donovan Dent would be special, but I mean, I guess that's how it goes in the transfer portal era. You never really know who's going to perform well, how that game transfers to another level, and I'm not trying to count out Donovan Dent on January 19th. I don't think that's necessarily fair because we still have 2 months of basketball left to play. But I do think that Braden Smith is going to be a big advantage for Purdue in this game. And quite frankly, he's been carrying the Boilermakers on his back as of late. When you look at his game log, 22 points against USC, 16 against Iowa, 26 against Penn State, 23 against Washington. And that doesn't even include 14 assists against Penn State, 8 assists against Iowa. He's really been lighting teams up as of late. He's been getting very comfortable to start out this year. Obviously, the great passer that he is, on pace to break that all-time assist record, already the all-time leader in Big Ten assists. But we just wanted to see him develop a little bit more, get a little more aggressive on the offensive side. Once he starts to make those shots, it makes him very multi-dimensional and tough for other defenses to stop because he still does provide that playmaking where he can get it down low to his bigs. But as I mentioned, as of late, guys in the starting lineup especially are 4 seniors, including Braden. You got Fletcher Lawyer, you got Oscar Clough and Trey Kaufman-Renn. The other guys just haven't been helping out as much as you would want to see. So in this game, for Purdue to come out, the big key for me in this one is help out Braden Smith. I want to see our bigs get involved down low for UCLA team that has struggled to find that front court depth. That's where I want to see Purdue succeed in this game. So I think Braden Smith can get it down low to the bigs, but Trey Kaufman-Renn and Oscar Clough, they're going to have to step up in this game and prove that they can outmatch the Bruins up front.
Next, we'll talk about what we think about the transfers that have come into UCLA and Purdue. We'll give you key players and key stats to look out for in this game that will define this UCLA must-win versus Purdue, just enjoying the West Coast. Next on the Locked On UCLA, Locked On Boilermakers crossover. Well, Nick, there's nothing like the college football season. Yeah, but now it's college basketball season, and those packed arenas, stadiums, tailgates, being right in the middle of it all, that's where the energy, the bands, and the moments you remember forever, but actually getting tickets, that's part of the frustrating part where you get long queues, logins, prices jumping at checkout. But for you and I, Nick, that's why Gametime gives the advantage backs to you, me, the fans, as the easiest way to unlock amazing college football, college basketball tickets as well, and experiences in just a few taps. Looking at the Gametime prices, as of this recording, you can get into this game for about $26. $26 to see UCLA Purdue. That's a bobblehead if you're amongst the first 7,000, 7,500. A packed out arena at Pauley Pavilion. And the best thing, I can see where I'm sitting based on that price for that seat. So if you want to get lower, if you want to sit where the lowest prices are, awesome. And the big thing is, there's no fees. I know I'm paying $26. What do you think about that?
I like it. I mean, that's a good price to get in. Purdue took over USC on Saturday. Don't know if they will do it this week, but for $26, those Boilermaker fans can absolutely travel to this one.
Yeah, you can still get some very cheap tickets, couple in there in the mid-20s. Otherwise, still low 30s. Excellent pricing for UCLA and Purdue, a big-time game. Just go to Gametime, use the zone deals, pick a section, Gametime picks the seats, and you can save even more. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets, whether it's college football, college basketball with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, the code LOCKEDONCOLLEG, LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. It's time to discuss the new incoming players for both teams, what their impact or lack thereof has been, while also discussing key players and stats to watch that will define the Bruins versus Boilermakers matchup. Nick Arvin of Locked On Boilermakers joining us. Still Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer of Locked On UCLA. So, Nick, tell us about the newcomer to this Purdue roster, and has he been worth the NIL put up to bring him in to West Lafayette?
I'm going to say absolutely on this one, Zach. So our one transfer addition this year was Oscar Clough out of South Dakota State. Big center, was averaging a double-double at South Dakota State. And after Purdue loses last year to Houston in the Sweet 16, and overall, just throughout the course of the season last year with Daniel Jacobson, our freshman, 7'4", going down with a broken leg in just game 2, we were really stretched for a center, especially some depth in that front court, kind of what you guys are experiencing this year. But when we lose in the Sweet 16, it was made clear to Matt Painter, has made clear that we just needed to get that center in the transfer portal. And more specifically, we really needed a source of rebounding. And we were definitely able to get that with Oscar Clough. Like I said, was averaging a double-double over there at South Dakota State. And the big conversation surrounding him is, can his production, the production that he had there, transfer over to the Big Ten level? And in my opinion, so far, absolutely it has, because he's really been balling out on the boards. He's made Trey Kaufman-Renn a better rebounder just because of the gravity that he brings in. But so far this year, Oscar Clough averaging 12.2 points per game, 8.2 rebounds. And that's pretty solid. That's exactly what we need at the center position for a team that has so many mouths to feed this year from that backcourt. Clough is that guy where, yes, he's not going to be your number one option, but if you underestimate him, he's going to hurt you. You cannot overlook Oscar Clough at that center position because he's the most efficient player in college basketball, and we've seen it. If you don't guard him, if you don't pay attention to him, he's going to make you pay. So Oscar Clough has been a great transfer addition for this Boilermakers team this year and has really kind of changed the ceiling for what I thought this team would be going into this season. He's made this year great. And now with Jacobson back healthy again, we have a 7'4" center coming off the bench to replace Clough when he's out. So our front court is doing pretty well right now, and a lot of it is accredited to the transfer portal addition of Oscar Clough.
Yeah, I wish UCLA still had their 7-3 unicorn in the middle. Instead,
Yeah.
he's helping another Big Ten team. We won't talk about that. So UCLA's incoming transfers, you have the big name Donovan Dent. We discussed it briefly in segment 1, but with the rumored big-time NIL deal close to, what, $3 million? And he was a top-tier transfer. Like Kentucky was going after Dent. Dent was, what, number 1, number 2 in the transfer portal? And despite the hype in between the seasons, I fed into it, but he was top 5 in the portal. He hasn't really played like it. Dent's currently the 3rd leading scorer, leader in assists. He is an upgrade, a player UCLA had to get. But for what UCLA needs at this moment, he hasn't produced near his career high level of last year as a junior at New Mexico, where he, one, led a tournament Lobo team to beat UCLA on a neutral floor. So it's not like they're really hurting. UCLA had a good team last year, and Dent's team still beat him while he played big and had big time numbers. So him coming to UCLA just hasn't translated as well. Shooting numbers from the field goal percentage are down from 2, from the 3-point line, way down, free throw shooting way down. His turnovers, I believe, are down. But overall, he's been a good addition. UCLA needs him to be a superb addition, and that just hasn't happened. You look at Xavier Booker. The dude, when UCLA was competing with Arizona, put up close to 10 plus points. Same thing against Gonzaga. But then he starts against Ohio State, 2 minutes, nothing, and then just is unheard of. Cronin is done with him. And I remember talking to Matt Sheehan of Locked On Spartans, and Tom Izzo and Mick Cronin are kind of the same guy, right? In terms of intense, they like to feed off the energy, got to play good defense and all that. Booker, it's not working out. He's not getting rebounds. He moved from the 4 to the 5, and it just doesn't seem like he's confident. He's not knocking down threes, 2 for 3 like he was earlier in the year when the teams would sag off of him. He's not the rebounding option that he needs. He's got the athleticism to block shots. It just seems like he's getting postered or getting crossed up and going right by defensively almost every possession. That hasn't been a success to replace Adai Mara going to Michigan. Steven Jamerson, backup big from San Diego, energy just doesn't provide the offense and stability, and Cronin just hasn't run with Jamerson consistently over 40 minutes. If that's the case, then we haven't seen a lot from Jamerson. Jamar Brown, who went from JUCO to the Summit League at UMKC to UCLA, is not exactly Kobe Johnson, the USC transfer to UCLA, who was a standout defensively and a solid three-point shooter. Brown plays hard, is what everything Cronin looks for, but he's not that dominant guard that can take over when Sky Clark is out, when UCLA struggles to shoot the ball. He can shoot it, it just hasn't worked. Peoples Jr. has been just a relief big man, if that's even a word. He's played twice during this super senior year. So I would say this transfer class has been very underwhelming for the Bruins after the Bruins brought in, 6 a year before, and that went from worst Mick Cronin team to tournament team. This year's team looks more like that tournament-less team than the one that made it to the second round a year ago. But players to watch, who do you have for your player to watch and a key stat in this UCLA-Purdue game?
Yeah, so the guy that's going to be really big for Purdue, in my personal opinion, is Fletcher Loyer. And the reason why I say that is because he has struggled as of late. Fletcher hasn't been the Fletcher Loyer that we've seen over 4 years at Purdue, and especially on the defensive side of the ball. We have seen that as well as he can shoot it on the defensive side, he has been a bit of a liability, and especially in that game against USC when you got that physical front court with a Chad Baker-Mazara, who's the oldest player in college basketball, a bit of a mismatch. Loyer got into foul trouble early and could only play 19 minutes in that game, which means he can't produce on the offensive side of the ball. And I feel like it's really underestimated how important Fletcher Loyer is for stretching out the floor in the half-court offense. So important. The best three-point threat that we're going to have on this team. If Fletcher Loyer is able to stay on the floor in this game with other guards facing up, like you said, Donovan Dent's going to be big in this one, Sky Clark. Those are guys that Fletcher Loyer has got to prove he can guard in order to stay on the court and produce on the offensive side. That's what we need out of Fletcher Loyer, so that's why I'm going to say he is my must-watcher. I think that's how you phrase it, must-watch player for this game. But how about you, Zach?
A year ago, when UCLA went to Mackey, it was the Trey Coffin-Wren show. 11 of 15, 29 points, dominated UCLA. And the Bruins have no real strong 4 or 5 to go against him. I know Bilodeau's great, but can he stop Kaufman-Renn? Can anybody in the post stop Kaufman-Renn? I really don't know. Braden Smith a year ago couldn't miss from 3, 6 of 10 at home in Mackey Arena. Loyer, as you mentioned, he did score double figures. Those are the only 3 players in double figures for Purdue who beat the Bruins by 10. So largely, it was Braden Smith's ability to hit threes and Purdue hitting 50%, 11 of 22. And if Kaufman-Renn just bullies the Bruins, I kind of lean on him maybe to beat UCLA once again. But for UCLA, it really depends on 2 things. The health of Sky Clark. Clark has been out since the Iowa game. He hurt his hamstring in the first half, early part of the second half against the Hawkeyes. The Bruins were down big, almost came back without him, couldn't. Against Wisconsin, beat down, but then Wisconsin went and beat Michigan, so that doesn't look as bad. Couple of wins against some winless Big Ten teams, but then when he played Ohio State, it showed Sky Clark was not there. While Trent Perry is getting to the level that he needs to be if he wants to blossom as a sophomore, the health of Sky Clark is the most important. If he comes on, that's another three-point weapon. You talked about the blueprint for three-point shooting. Without Clark, your weapons go way down. UCLA shooting is down with Eric Daly Jr. Booker can't even hit that 1 out of 3, 2 out of 3 every so often. Jamar Brown is 38%, but not with the volume that you'd like to see. And you can't place your three-point shooting hopes on a sophomore who's just getting true starting reps and Bilodeau when you've got big men who can probably stretch out and guard Bilodeau at the three-point line. So it's Guy Clark's health, he's available, and whatever production the Bruins can get on the glass from their big men. You talked about Purdue's rebounding issues. Booker's playing like 2 minutes a game. So is it Booker? Or does UCLA go active and energy on defense with Steven Jamerson and then go very small behind him? I don't know how it works against a 7+ foot big man in Jacobson or Clough or against the beef that is, Kaufman-Renn. But between either Jamerson or Booker giving something productive for UCLA and Sky Clark's health, that can make the difference in a UCLA team that has traveled and not really done much these last few weeks against teams of note.
Yeah, there's a lot of matchups. I do want to hit on a couple things that you did say there because there was a lot to unpack in terms of the different personnel. And this is a very exciting matchup in terms of just player on player. There's so many fun matchups in this game. But something you mentioned was Sky Clark, him potentially being out. And I think that's more important than just surface level, rather. And the reason I say that is because of CJ Cox. And what CJ does is he's an off-ball guard in our starting lineup. And what he provides is not necessarily on the offensive side. He's our piece out of that backcourt where you throw him on other teams' number 1 guards. And just let him try to lock them down, try to limit who UCLA or any other team for that matter wants to play for or play through so that those teams have to find another way to win. That's what Purdue has done a great job at so far this year. CJ's been big, and without Sky Clark in this game, if he's not playing, that's just one less guy that Purdue and with that CJ Cox is going to have to worry about. So I think that's going to be big. And in terms of Trey Kaufman-Renn, hurting UCLA. Yes, he's been extraordinary over his 5 years at Purdue. Was great last year in this matchup, secured the win for the Boilermakers, but as of late, he has just been struggling. So I think if Trey Kaufman-Renn is able to bounce back, if he's able to find a level of confidence that he had to start out this year, but has struggled a little bit as of late, strayed a little bit from that, we're going to win. If Trey Kaufman-Renn is on, we're going to win. But if he's not, anything can happen. You look at his last 2 performances, and they weren't great at all. He had 5 points and 3 rebounds against USC, which is not a Trey Kaufman-Renn game by any stretch of the imagination. And then just 2 rebounds, 12 points against Iowa earlier in the week. Trey Kaufman-Renn is going to be a big factor in terms of does he show up, does he not? That may be the answer to who wins this game's at.
My stat to watch, does UCLA hit 10 or more threes in this game? I think that's what it's going to take to win at home. You can do a lot, but if you're hitting 10 threes at a good clip, not 10 of 33, but like 10 of 24, 10 of 21, something like that where you're shooting close to 50%, which is ridiculous, but that's what it's going to take for UCLA. To shoot the 3 probably opens up some driving lanes for Dent, a couple easy dishes down low to the bigs or buckets for Bilodeau on fadeaway jumpers. They need at least 30 points from the three-point line to be efficient from the free throw line. And can Dent be a superstar? Can he
Yeah,
do that? That's the real question.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. That would be my key for UCLA too, is that three-pointing shot. For me, my stat is, can you win that rebounding margin? We saw against USC, should have won that one. You lose it by 8, I believe, in that one. Against UCLA, have to win the rebounding margin to win this game.
We'll see how it goes. We'll talk more expectations, impact in this one coming up next. Locked on UCLA, Locked on Boilermakers crossover. What you've all been waiting for, it's prediction time. Nick and Zach continuing this crossover between the Bruins and the Boilermakers of Purdue, the preseason Big Ten favorites. Do you think Purdue's played like a preseason favorite outside of a beatdown at home to Iowa State?
I'd say so compared to the other candidates up there. Right now, I really think there's only about 3 to 5 teams in contention for the Big Ten. I'd give it Purdue, Nebraska. I think they'll fall off eventually, but I'll put them in the conversation. Michigan State, and probably Illinois if they pull off something crazy. In terms of those 5 teams, I really do think that Purdue has played up to that level of winning the Big Ten once again this year in the regular season. The one thing I do want to mention is just the scouting. And I said that on the college basketball squad show yesterday, but the scouting in the Big Ten this year has just been elite. And we've seen that with Michigan, where they've gone into environments, they lose against Wisconsin. Like, that's not one that you would expect for a Michigan team that's rolled over about everybody to start out this non-conference slate. But as of where we're at right now, I think in FanDuel, our odds were around plus 160, give or take. Michigan around minus 140. But if Purdue is able to beat UCLA, depending on what happens with Michigan over the weekend, I think that Purdue has a good shot to be the new favorite to win the Big Ten this year.
The preseason and current favorite, that's the difference between getting a 2 seed or a 1 seed. It seems like those 1 seeds are somewhat solidified potentially, but if, say, Purdue wins that Michigan battle or goes on to win the regular season Big Ten crown, whoever wins that, I think, has an inside track for a 1 seed, if not both Michigan and Purdue, at least being 2 seeds. I think those 5 teams, that's a lot deeper than I thought the Big Ten upper echelon would be. I think the Big Ten is much better than I expected overall. And UCLA is much worse than we all expected. Health hasn't been a factor in their wins. It's been a huge factor in their losses, other than Mick Cronin really drawing the ire of the fans. For UCLA, they're sitting on the outside looking into the tournament. You win this game, even with the Ohio State road loss, this win is more important than being Ohio State on the road. The head-to-head is going to come into a factor when you're looking at first 4, final 4, or first 4, trying to get those last 4 in bids head-to-head. UCLA beats Purdue at home. That's where the travel's supposed to kick in. Last year when UCLA had a long West Coast stint, UCLA wasn't in the tournament. They were a bubble team, almost this exact same start, just flip it, right? They were at 2-4, 3-4 in Big Ten play. They beat a good Wisconsin team. They beat Michigan State at home. And when they stayed on the West Coast, those, 6 to 7 wins in a row had UCLA flirting once again with the top 25. And they were locked in their NCAA tournament bid. Couldn't get a better seed, but they locked it in. Beating Purdue puts the Bruins on the right side of the bubble, shifts the narrative, and I think gives the Bruins a lot of confidence during a stretch where they need to be 5-2, 6-1. They have to be, or else their season's going to come down to winning 4 games in a row at the Big Ten tournament. I don't think anybody wants to have their season come down to that, Nick. But now it's time to dive in. What do you think's going to happen? Who is the star? Not your key to the game, but who do you think will actually dominate? Put some prediction on it. And also, what's the final score margin potentially?
Okay. All right. Let's break it down. So one thing I do want to hit on, you made a good point. This game, and I can't overestimate this enough. I think I said that right. This is incredibly important for UCLA. I'm glad that you mentioned this because, yes, this is a Purdue team that they're going to be a top 5 team in the nation heading into LA. If UCLA was able to pull this off, it would be absolutely huge for the trajectory of their season. And that's going to be the big storyline for you guys in this game. But from a Purdue perspective, going into this one, I want to see a bounce back performance. Yes, you pull off a win against USC, but that's not a team I necessarily want to see this Boilermakers squad trailing by 14 and having to come back at the end, just being able to pull it out because they can't make their free throws. The Trojans, that is, can't make their free throws down to the wire. That's not always going to happen in Big Ten play. You're not always going to play teams that fall apart at the end, and you're not always going to play teams where they allow you to come back from down 14. So that's what I want to see from Purdue in this game, is to kind of get started out early, to make those threes early, to live on the board, get yourself more opportunities on the offensive side, and start to build out that lead and play from in front. Please, please, please play from in front if you are Purdue in this game. That's what it's going to take for this team to bounce back after what was a sketchy performance against USC. In this one, it's got to be Braden Smith. He's constantly showed consistently throughout the course of this year, especially heading into 2026, that he's the leader. He's the number one guy right now, hovering right around a 15-point double-double in his averages. That's rounding up. He's at like 9.7 assists right now, but still, it goes to show that he's probably going to be an All-American once again this year. He's been doing it on a consistent basis, game to game, scoring 20 points, 10 assists. He's crazy right now. I think Braden Smith is really going to be that guy where he shows up for better or for worse. But for Purdue to get this victory, they're going to have to give him some help. If Purdue can get Braden Smith some help, if they can get him some support, maybe 2 or 3 other guys in double figures in this game, I think that Purdue is able to pull it out. But with that being said, I don't think this is going to be a blowout. Still on the West Coast, Purdue struggling as of late to really pull away from teams. I expect more of the same in this one. Although I do have Purdue winning, I feel like it's a 2-possession, maybe a 3-possession game on the road. I'll call it a 7-point win for Purdue. They scored 69 points against USC, which is a bit of a rarity. I like to see them more in that 70, 80-point range. This offense is amazing when they're on. I'll call it 82-75 Purdue. They get a victory, improve to 8-0 in Big Ten conference play.
For me, I'm going to say this. Donovan Dent, he's going to play a signature point guard on the other end. I think that hypes him up. It's at home. The first time UCLA is going to have an energized crowd at home all season for a big-time game for the men's side. I do think the Bruins will compete. I think UCLA could even be leading at half. This could very well play like the Gonzaga game. And UCLA fans remember how that game played out, jumped out to a 3-possession lead early, about 7-8 points over Gonzaga. And the Zags immediately came right back, took the lead. It was back and forth for a good portion of this game, for that game. I think the Bruins will get hammered inside. They'll be out-rebounded. They'll get out-muscled. They might compete. It all depends on the health of certain players and the production of the post, as we discussed in the last segment. I think Dent actually scores 20-plus in this game. How about that? He has not been consistent. I think he balls out when he sees another All-American on the other side and says, all right, it's time to go. Whether that leads to UCLA victory, I don't think it does. Purdue, despite struggling early, pulls away late and wins this by 9. I say 82 to UCLA 73 in that range. So a lot higher scoring than what they faced at USC in the Galen Center. But I think this one will be a lot of fun, even though it gets buried behind everything on Peacock when it's all said and done, Nick.
Man, I can't. Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I can't stand Peacock. I just can't. Put the games on TV, please, please, please. But yeah, it's going to be a fun one. I think we both have Purdue winning. I like your prediction about Donovan Dent. Maybe we have 2 point guards scoring 20-plus in this game. Wouldn't that be fun? Final takeaway for me in this one is I want to see physicality for Purdue. I want to see a team that wants to win and a team that they want to win from the start, not a team that's going to slow down throughout the course of the game. Let UCLA get back into this game or let UCLA get a lead. But I do like your prediction. I could see this being very USC-esque from where we played them, where Trojans get a lead. You have to battle back in this game. Could see that happening in this one.
Yeah, in terms of your take, I want to see something. What is that? I don't know. I want to see something. Let's see a pulse for this UCLA team. Yeah. Let's prove that they're not done just yet. We'll talk after this game, have some fun. We'll have reactions and recaps from both our channels. That's Nick Arvin of Locked On Boilermakers. Go watch his stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer, Locked On UCLA. Like, comment, subscribe, download. Thanks for your support. Join the Locked On Everydayer Club. Have a lot of fun. This has been our crossover. So long, everybody, and go Bruins.